It is Saturday and we are here, and it's about that time to get things started. So let's not waste time or miss words. Let's get it going by saying our normal words that we start things out with.
All right, you want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And yes, it is showtime, and welcome back into another episode of From the Desk of a Small Press Publisher. I'm Joe D. McPhee, and it is a weird Saturday. Why? Not really in much pain, but it was a lot of working in the storage area today and everything, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But before we get into the crux of our show here, let's always remember that stupid o'clock happens an hour into this show here. We might just run the 1 hour today, depending on the conversation, how the conversation for the topic for today goes. Then that is followed up by Last Man Standing. Then you get a little bit of a respite until Monday to Never Mind the Furthermore with Nicholas Tucker. And on Thursday, we got the brand new, finally got intros and outros comic book spectrum. That's right here on Thursday, 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. I got to update that graphic though. And once we do that, it's going to be nice and pretty and everything to that magnitude. So without further ado, we got people commenting and everything here. So we got yep, you were in here first here. And yeah, they are already hit the like. So yeah, don't forget to do the like and subscribe and all the good stuff here. You will get a reminder at the very end of the show here. Without further ado, it is that time once again to do what we do always, which is new comic book pickups for the week when we get brand new comic books. So here we we go here. Okay, and here we go with this week's pickups for the week here. We got a box of stuff that is going to storage here, and we got to get this going real quick because it's actually a good chunk of books that we got to cover. We're going to start it off with Lois Lane number 51. Got that in the mail today with a couple other Wonder Woman books. We got volume 183 that came in. A actual this is a 303 that came in from volume 1. Number 20 from volume 2. And then we got some America books. I know for a fact that this is an extra copy of issue number 3 from the America series, and I finally getting later issues, issue 11 of that series. So that's coming along swimmingly. Um, I did make a deal to get a full set of this series here, so like, eventually I will have a full run of it. But we got Dakota North number 1, and this happens to be a newsstand number 1 for Dakota North and issue number 3. So I think I'm missing only issues 2 and issue 5. We got a Vampirella Strikes number 1 from the original Harris Comics run. We got another Faith number 1. And we got Batman Secret Files Huntress. Now to go open up the box again, because we had everything packed up and ready to go to storage. But we got another Marvel Chillers number 3, which is the first appearance. No, actually, technically this is the first cover appearance. No, can't even say that. Second cover appearance of Tigra, but the first time that she was in her own solo adventure. We got Crisis number 10, Howard the Duck number 12 as the so-called cameo of Kiss in comics. Another copy of Hulk 300, Film Force 45, Wonder Woman 237, 266, Ren and Stimpy number 1. I think this one's still in polybag. That's the reason why I got it. Symbiote Spider-Man number 1. Another Spider-Man number 1. That's the silver cover. That's going to stay here with the other ones. Star number 1. Vampirella number 12. Spider-Woman number 1. Variant copy. I think, yeah, this is what the J. Scott Campbell one. I Am an Avengers 1 of 5. Now, normally I don't collect World's Finest, but I only got this because of one thing, and that's the character on the title, Composite Superman. That was a very interesting 2-part story dealing with Composite Superman. Not too many people know about Composite Superman, so we got 283 and 284 dealing with Composite Superman. I believe this is Gun Hunting number 1. Bullets and Braces from the Amalgam series here. This is during the time that they was doing the Marvel versus DC here, so they kind of combined the two characters here. So you had kind of like a Frank Castle and Diana teaming up here. Conspiracy Comics, this was dealing with the JFK assassination. I believe this is Creepy number 15 from the Dark Horse run. Gamora number 5. Extreme X-Men number 45. Marvel Superheroes number 11 from the toy line. New Avengers number 28. And yet we got more. We got Legends number 3. I believe this is first Suicide Squad. Predator versus Magnus Robot Fighter number 2. Hulk 320. Yep, he actually beat up what's his name? Doc Samson pretty bad. More X-Men that I actually have. 169 with a little bit better. Yeah, direct. 269, better copy. 301, about average. This is the regular, I believe this is the regular direct version of 320. Another copy of annual number 9. So I got like 2 or 3 of these now. So I'm probably going to end up sending one of those in. Dazzler number 4, 7, and 32. A lot of Birds of Prey, starting with this is, I think this is this volume 1? I guess this is volume 1. Volume 1 number 4, 21, 34, 35, 36, 44, 45, 56, 63, 68. Now they're falling over. That's perfectly fine. And these are more in Mylar, so I kind of expect them to be kind of sliding. 83 from volume 1, 85, 88, 89, 90, 92, 107. And then this is volume 2, 13 and 14. And then from New 52, we got 1, 10, 14, 15, and Secret Files 2003. And then we got a G.I. Joe in 3D #1. Now, this series I didn't realize actually ran about 6 issues, so I'm probably going to end up looking for issues 2 through 6. And we got a New Mutants #45. And that is the pickups for this week here. So you guys know what time it is. It's time for me to get ready to head to storage here. So I'm going to toss it back to me on the actual live show. So, and there you have it. And that's what came in. And yes, yeah, that last one is a freebie dude. Yep, it was. So pretty much that was the comic book pickups for the week here. And I know it's like it's a pain in the rear that because I go to storage early in the morning that new comic book pickups of the week is not live like it used to be where we could actually talk about the books like we normally would. But it's kind of like a necessary evil because I'm getting everything organized. And because I'm getting everything organized, I know what I have and know what I don't have, and we're getting closer and closer to knowing getting more exact numbers of which issues and everything. Like for example, like volume 1 of Trinity, I have to find my issue number 12. Then I have all 52 issues of that. um Other things like Red She-Hulk, I believe the actual Red She-Hulk run, I believe I'm only missing issue 61 in that set. And I know I have that issue 61 because it was the weird technical face cover that's missing in that set. But I know I have it somewhere in those short boxes. So it's things like that. It's just going through boxes, putting everything order, getting books in, if I can say title or genre, like everything that's X-Men in one area, everything that was Spider-Woman, everything that was, you know, Teen Titans, everything that was Birds of Prey. It becomes exhausting. And I still got like things like Superior Spider-Man sitting off to the side. Um, the of the original Secret Wars and Contest of Champions and stuff to that magnitude sing off to the side here. Complete runs of that, some with multiple issues, and I'm debating if I'm going to release 1 or 2 copies of stuff from those series to Whatnot for next week. And yeah, the after birthday Whatnot thing may still happen nonetheless here. So just be on the lookout for the notification of whether or not I do a Whatnot show. It probably do it the exact same thing. Probably do like dollar starts with certain things and go from there. But nevertheless, that is pretty much the comic book pickups for the week here. And we're probably just going to go right into the topic for today because I don't have anything else better to talk about other than what is being discussed, which is I wouldn't say pet peeves, but these are like things that grinds my gears when dealing with watching other content creators and claim show sales, especially dealing with this hobby. Um, it's just weird. It's just weird of how it gets to clickishness. Let me see. Oh, it's like I just got triple out. Give me that. This is mine. On which book? Which book are you doing that on? Short box. She's on a soapbox. Short box. All of them. See, that's the reason why Beanie has not gotten her armor as of yet. Because Beanie got her armor, she will be trying to take things that does not belong to her by force. But anyway, The topic of the day is pretty much things that grinds my gears with other content creators and claim sales and stuff to that magnitude. It's not like every last content creator does this type of stuff or every last seller does this stuff, but it happens so often that it just really irks me more so than anything because one, some of the stuff that they're going through, I actually am going through on Whatnot. And you have to find it within yourself not to say these types of things or put it out there in such a way where it's like, okay, there's no interest in that. Just move on. Just move on. Just, wait, wait, be patient and just move on. Yes, it's just like she would be flying around your head, be like, pew, 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 bye. As long as she doesn't fire a gun like a stormtrooper, she'll be all right. But getting back to what I was saying here, it just it's just those things that just really irks me more so than anything. Since I've already mentioned it, we're going to go with one of the more prevalent things that at least that I see in claim sales. It's like these are some great books. I don't understand why nobody's claiming them or nobody's bidding on them. Maybe because you pick something that nobody has interest in, or are you just ignoring your clientele? Because I have gone to claim sales where it's like people have like their normal crowd, and when your normal crowd is going like, we're not interested in that, and you go into like these 5, 10, and 15 minute spills on why this book is so great. And when I say the spiel of why this book is so great, you're going monetary as opposed to what the book is about. Sometimes you could get people to buy into a comic story just by telling them about what the story is about or what's inside the actual book. Sometimes you don't need to know that, oh, you could turn around and flip this on eBay for like $20 and I'm only trying to sell it to you for 4. Again, I don't see a lot of people, clamoring for that book here, and I don't see too many people being out there on eBay to do it. But if you told me that the story has a great ending and what it made you feel when you read it and all this other stuff, it may get me to be like, oh, let me invest in that. Let me read it for myself and invest in that way and become invested. And if I like what I read, guess what? I'm probably going to come back and ask for more. But it's a pet peeve. It's like, oh, these are great books. And people just don't know the creative staff and this, that, and the other, and how much the book is worth. And you need to know your books a little bit better. It's like, but if I have no interest in it and it's not in my wheelhouse, why would I invest in it? It would be a money sink at that point. But it is what it is here. Yeah, it could be that 9.9 Alpha Flight 81. It's a nice book, but I give zero fuzz about it as do most people. Exactly. That, and and again, Parallax and I go to different claim sales, and sometimes we watch the same ones, and the same the same claim sales would have like all these different Alpha Flight books, and nobody wants the Alpha Flight books. And it was like, oh well, there's got to be fans of Alpha Flight. It's like you might be a fan of Alpha Flight, but guess what? Your clientele, the people who are watching it right now, we don't give a care about it. We don't. It's not something that we want to buy, or at least you haven't made us interested in whatever issue that is for any apparent reason. It would be nicer if you told us what was going on to kind of sway our judgment, to be like, oh, the comic book is not just something to have to sell to somebody else. It's something for reading. It's entertainment. What's the entertainment value of it? But it is what it is. Like I always really do not care about Deadpool comics, so I just don't care. But again, you got a lot of people that do like Deadpool comics, but at the same time, when you're running a claim sale, you need to know your clientele. You need to know who are your regulars and who may pop in to ask for a lot of stuff. One of the things that even you made mention to me, you was up here, it's like, well, you might want to invest in like that Do You Poo book to flip to somebody else. You might want to invest in that book to flip to somebody else. And I'm going up here, it's like, well, I'm not a retailer, so I'm not really going out to look for different collections in that aspect here. But I will come across a couple of things here that it may work out. Like the one Do You Poo book that I did buy from that one seller is like it still haven't sold as of yet, but at the same time, I get your point. It's like you never know who may come in and be like, "Hey, I'm a big fan of Marat Michaels. Do you have this?" And I'd be like, "This is the only one that I have. You can have it. You can have it if you give me X, Y, and Z." That happens, but that's knowing who you're attracting and understanding the people who are coming into your show. Just like next week, I have to make certain. I think it was like Wonder Woman Volume 2, 156 or 159. I know the cover when I see it. I think it's 156. Oh, speaking of which, one of the sellers that we frequent here, I actually showed him the last issue of Volume 1 of Uncanny X-Men just for his own reference. Oh boy. Issue one, what was like 176 or 192. It's the last issue of Uncanny X-Men. It's like nowhere close. The last issue of Uncanny X-Men from Volume 1 was like it's issue it's issue of 444. 544 is the last issue of Uncanny X-Men. He's up here like you just sold, and we're up here like you just sold the issue 200. How can it be the last issue? Oh my goodness. No, it's 544. Yeah, it's 544. I just checked. I can actually show you the picture of it. Give me a second. Give me a second. I'll show you guys the picture. He said 186 was the last issue of Uncanny X-Men for Volume 1. And we were up here like all of our jaws just dropped like we we love you guy, but at the same time, don't tell real collectors that this is the last issue and not and not make us, point it out to you. We're gonna point it out. That's like that's nowhere near close. And then Parallax that'll have it. It's like, did you just get rid get just sell an issue 200 just a few seconds ago? How the hell 186 at the last issue? I was like, yeah, that was hilarious. That was beyond funny, beyond hilarious. But there it is. There it is in the raw right here. I got it on my other screen right now. Just for you guys to show you here. It is 544. Issue number 544. Let's open it up in the tab by itself because I want to expand it for you can see the number 544. That is the last issue of Uncanny X-Men from Volume 1. It was so hilarious. Yep, that was the yep. I gotta show you the exact quote. That was the exact quote that she said. You just saw issue 200 8 years ago. What the fuck are you smoking? I was like, no one needed to be treated that badly, but it was that much of a debacle. It was really that bad. 186. It's the final issue. That's like, what are you trying to say? No, it's like it was life death story. It was dealing with Storm losing her powers for the very first time. I think that's what he was trying to get out, but he went into this whole sales pitch. and he just went out on a limb and said, "It's the last issue, the last issue of X Men." Everybody was like, "What? I beg your pardon." Yeah, people are not big on Fantastic Four. I always get them to read Fantastic Four Unthinkable. Why Unthinkable? Well, then again, unstable molecules would probably be too in depth for them, for most people. If you want to get into Fantastic Four, unstable molecules would be too much for them. I could pretty much see Unthinkable. Fantastic Four Unthinkable. That does work, but unstable molecules to me seems to work a little bit better. But that's my taste versus everybody else's. And it's like I'm way closer than Meatloaf. Yep. Joe was like, Leia got no chill. No, it's not that. It was just like, it's like I'm just up here. It's like, dude, it's like I'm not going to try to put you on Front Street. I want you to sell this book, but I'm not going to put you that far out there. And you did that. I was just like, I just started busting a laugh because it's like, yep, he deserved it. He always tell us know our books. It's like, dude, you don't know X-Men. And then when he came out and said, I really don't know X-Men, I was like, okay, let me help you. Let me help you with this. Let me help you with this. Oh my goodness. That was just too hilarious. Too hilarious. The longest running yep, with with no renumbering. Mm-hmm. First cover appearance of Forge. First Forge was before that. First Forge was before that issue. But it just but it's like yeah, unstable yeah, that to me, unstable molecules is to me Fantastic Four. If you want to know just about everything with Fantastic Four, that is the book to read, Unstable Molecules. Yeah, yeah, Doom was Doom in that one. I will give you that. Doom was actually the Doom that a lot of people come to know and love in Unthinkable. I'm not going to put you on Frustry because Leia already webbed you into the lamppost with the note saying, webbed you to the light, webbed you to the light post with the note like, "I'm a dumbass, courtesy of your friendly neighborhood Leia." Oh my goodness, that yeah, Force was 184. Yep. Yeah, but that was his first cover appearance, and it was the first time that Storm lost her powers. Non-comic fans into FF and Doom fans. Yeah, it's all more about telling about the story and why you like something. And again, who would have thought that since doing this show, I have added more people to the Wonder Woman army of people who going out there and looking for Wonder Woman books. Not because I'm up here saying all these books are worth a lot of money. I'm telling them about the stories. I'm telling them about my journey about getting every last Wonder Woman book. I mean, it's not an easy feat, and I'm not a completionist. And when I say completionist, I'm not going out there looking and trying to get every last cover appearance, every last book that she ever appeared in. I just want every issue of the Wonder Woman namesake comic title. That's something simple. And once I have completed that, the next goal from there is to get all of the original Volume 1 Sensation comics. and that includes the stuff where it became more romantic. It's like the whole thing about her and Steve Trevor getting more and more romantic and became more like a romance comic towards the tail end of Sensation Comics. And that's the other thing that always drives me up the wall here. And that's like I don't mind my editor calling me out on that. She's up here. It's like, oh, you don't like the romance stuff. You want this. That's like, no, I actually kind of get into the romance stuff if it's told well. And what I mean, if it's told well, I mean, you have to tell a compelling story behind it. Romance just for the sake of romance doesn't float my boat. Just like horror for the sake of trying to scare me or giving me gory images doesn't float my boat. You have to give me some type of story behind it. That's kind of like one of the reasons why I don't get into something skilled to children. It's like, yeah, it's nice and gory and all this other stuff, but the whole thing about the different clans doesn't jive me, doesn't ring a bell with me, mainly because how they investigating what's going on is always watch, rinse, and repeat. It's like you're worrying about all this infighting within all these different houses, but yet you're not solving the overall theme of the book. What is truly killing the children? I'm just saying, it's like it's not a book for me because of that. Another reason why I haven't read House of Slaughter. Everybody was raving how good House of Slaughter is. And it's like, well, if I start reading House of Slaughter, am I going to get the true stuff about what's going on with all these different houses? Or are we going to get more of the same? We're going to have all this infighting, and the thing that is driving everything is a watch, rinse, repeat. Nothing is moving towards the end goal of figuring out what's really, the end goal in the first place. But that's just me. Yeah, courtesy of your friendly neighborhood comic collector girl. It's like that's like I really just made them read and listen to them and going, "Oh, sweet!" on the final page of the prologue, and me saying, "Yep, that's why Doom is the best villain." You know what? I should make a top 10. I should make a top 10 video of the top 10 comic book villains. Yes, Doom is in my top 10. Doom is definitely in my top 10. I the person who will probably be number one in my book, maybe not what most people call a villain, but it is what it is. It is what it is. But yeah, Doom is like either two or three on that list easily, easily, very easily, because there's no one like him. And then on top of that, I could make an argument that Doom is not truly a villain, because there have been stories where Owatu, the Watcher, has actually shown people Doom's destiny. If anything, he is a person that is truly misunderstood. He would do anything that it takes to get the power necessary to reach his goal. But if he ever does reach his goal, it can be a virtual, how can I say, utopia. But we have to wait and see. Modern X-Men is perfect. Is a perfect master class of how not to write romance. That is funny. That makes me laugh. But you're telling the truth there. You are telling the truth. Modern X-Men, it's weird. It's weird, and that's one of the reasons why I think I stopped collecting. Really, I'm probably going to have huge gaps about like volume 3. I'm scared about how much volume 2 stuff I actually have, because like I said, I always thought it was one continuous run, because I'm up here seeing like issue 600, issue this, when they back to legacy numbers again. I was like, oh, it's all volume one. It's all good. So I probably have most of. I know I have all of volume one, probably all of volume two, and some of volume three, and sporadic issues of volume four and possibly five. But I don't really. I stopped collecting X Men way back in the early 2000s. No, not even in early 2000s, probably the early 2010s. But I'll tally up those numbers here because I'm just about done with all of the volume ones. I am missing a handful of issues in the 500s, and then I need to find from the original 90 series of X-Men. I need to find out what I did with my X-Men number 50 because the X-Men, the 50 that I had in the X-Men stuff was actually X-Force 50. So I'm wondering if I had swapped X-Force 50 for X-Men 50 and vice versa. So I had to go through and find my X-Forces to see if my X-Force 50 that I have over there is really my X-Men 50. So, it's just weird. All the stuff is just weird in the bigger scheme of things. But getting back to the topic at hand, it's like stuff that just really grinds my gears. Oh, with claim sale. Oh, go ahead and make a request. Okay, you make the request. I appreciate if you don't have it, you say that you don't have it, and you clearly indicate you don't have it. If you have the book or have what has been asked for, and you don't make an attempt to go check on it or get it, that does not set well. It just goes to show how much you don't care about your clientele at all. It's not like I can understand if they're asking you to go get a big book and you don't want to sell it, you make it clear to them. It's like it's not for sale. But if you ask for like $1 book or a 50-cent book or something that they don't see as very valuable and they got it, and they act like, oh, it's too much of an ask to go and get it, that's a problem. That's a problem. I mean, at least make the attempt to say, "Hey, contact me after the show. I'll get I'll go over there and grab it, take pictures of it. I'll make you a special deal on it. Something. Make some type of effort to appease that particular person." And I see it too often, more so than anything else. Yep, crickets. Yep, that's what's bugged me. Yep, yeah. I don't think I asked for stuff that is out of the ordinary, like Gen 13 or the 90s Ultra comic book. Gen 13 is not out of the ordinary. What I find that is weird about Gen 13 is that there's so much of it now that it's weird because you have to be specific about Gen 13, what volume, who was doing the writing, all this other stuff. Because what I'm finding out now, going through my stuff here, it turns out that I got all of volume one, which was the short 5-issue series plus the one half. And then volume two is where people get mixed up on because volume two was like that 97 to like 100 issue run that had the 13 that had the 13 number one variant covers, and people get those two volumes mixed up easily. And then after that, you had the two Wildstorm runs, and the two Wildstorm runs have very different covers. And the first Wildstorm run, which was the initial run shortly after DC bought Wildstorm, that first run was actually written by Chris Claremont, and that was the only thing that brought me back to Gen 13 was like, oh, Claremont's on it. So it's going to be written a lot better. And it's probably going to have more of that X-Men feel to it. And lo and behold, it wasn't. I mean, but it wasn't bad, but it wasn't Gen 13 to me, at least. And yeah, and bootleg. Yep. Bootleg does not make any sense to me. I was looking at issues of bootleg at the storage, and I was like, what was the whole purpose of bootleg? That just it's like it was just extra stuff that they just created for I don't know what apparent reason, all because Gen 13 was popular. But it's just that's what it is. Now I know I've been jumping now a lot of claim sellers as of right now, but I'm going to go back to content creators. One of the things that I try not to do here, I try not to let my own personal bias rock the boat per se as far as other people's opinions. I value other people's opinions about how they view things just as much. So if you don't like slabs, fine, don't like slabs, but don't poo poo people that do. You know, I want to write because, you know, it's like all these slabs, all these, all these people who've been selling nothing but slabs, they're going by the wayside, this, that, or the other, because sales are going down. It's like, no, slab sales have not gone down. Actually, it's about where it's at, where it's supposed to be. Just for the simple fact that you don't buy slab books for whatever personal bias reason, that's fine. Don't buy it, but don't poo poo the fact that there's a market for it. There's a lot of people that buy only slabs. And you're up here talking about, well, if I buy a book, I want to read it. Okay. So let's put this out there for example. Let's say you just picked up, take your hard earned $20,000 or $30,000 and picked up an Uncanny X-Men #1, which is probably about at like an 8.0 or better. You're going to tell me that after you put it in a Mylar, that you're going to go back to it and read it over and over and over again, devaluing it further. I bet you 9 times out of 10, you won't do it. Why? Because there's other means and methods to read that issue. Now, just because you don't want to get it graded, that's on you. That's your choice. That's not where I'm going with this. But to use your bias to justify not buying a slab doesn't uh sit well with me. Do I agree that every book needs to be slab? I agree. Not every book needs it. uh, and to be quite honest, if you paid attention to what I have been saying here on this show, only slab things that need to be preserved, meaning that if I get to the point where in my collection where I see like, oh, this issue needs to be preserved for X, Y, and Z reasons, I will go ahead and get it slabbed. Does not necessarily mean that I'm going for value, for financial value. I'm going in because this is the best quality book that I have. 9 times out of 10, I have extra copies of it. Let me preserve this one. I have a backup that I could read. Everything is hunky dory. That's how you're really supposed to look at it. But again, I'm going to pull back from my bias. I want to hear you guys out who are up in arms like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I was like, no, I want to hear you guys out because I see it from those who's like, oh, I don't understand the raw, the people who always want the books raw and this, that, and the other. They don't understand that graded value is this, and this. And the raw people is like, I want to read my book and this, that, and the other that I actually purchased. And this, it's like, guys, stop. Stop. Your own personal reasons for doing the things that you do. It's your own personal reason. But when we get out here on the internet, we have to be mindful and look at it from the space at the table for everybody. You don't have to be team slab or team raw. You just have to be a collector and enjoy what you collect, whether it is in the raw or in a slab. Enjoy what you got. Because I could tell you one thing. There's many different ways to read these books outside of the actual issue. There's too many trade paperbacks out there where you could read the exact same stories, the exact same thing. Heck, using my X-Men #1 example, even if you didn't have another copy of X-Men #1 from 1960, there's always classic X-Men #1. There's all these different reprints of X-Men #1 that you could pick up and read. Don't apply your own biasness to it. It's just that simple. And that's why I rock it. Yeah, I'm not affiliated or represent the views and thoughts of the CDC Studios, Joey Fee, and everything like that. I'm not going to read my first print Fantastic Four #1, but I can read the facsimile. See, I can read the facsimile, eat with it, sleep with it, shower with it. But those same guys will not open up a toy. What the fuck? What's the fucking point? The toy are meant to be played with. Exactly. And okay, Mr. Moore, I'm glad that you showed up here. So hopefully, it makes sense. It's like don't don't force your biasness onto other people. Is what I'm really getting at. Collect what you want. Collect how you want to collect. I I'm in a few Facebook groups about comics, and it's so negative. Exactly. Doesn't it drive you up the wall? It's like we're all on the same team when it comes to collecting here. Whether it's raw or slab doesn't matter. That part doesn't matter. It doesn't. It's just the simple fact that if you have it and you enjoy it, you can share that experience with others. That's the point. I have graded books that aren't worth much, but it's special to me. Exactly. And it looks like Leia is greeting David Moore, and I'm always right. Ask Joe, he will tell you. Yep. But that's the whole thing. And those conversations that I see on all these other comic creators that gets into this book was not worth to be slab, and that people books need to be more raw, more so than anything else. Like, no, I get your justification. And if you do own a store, I even get it even more so. But then you're adding an extra layer on understanding your clientele and going back to my first thing that grinds my gears. Knowing your clientele. I mean, it's like it's a few places that on the interwebs, especially on YouTube, that I'll go out there and I will look at them. And it was one in particular that he made a very eloquent argument against graded books. But the thing about it is that it was so eloquent that it got to the point where his personal biasness was not personal. It was almost business because he kept referring it back to his store and about getting the fair market value of books that have not matured enough to deserve being slabbed. I heard him out all the way through. And I was like, you know what? You got an excellent point there. But you should, look down on people for getting that random issue of Walking Dead slab. If that's what they want, let them have it. If they come back to try to sell it to you, you have the right to reject it. That's always your right. But he's looking at the market as a whole and applying his biasness to a certain degree. And then after that bias is applied, he then applies business logic to it. And that business logic is something that's hard to argue against. And I don't find any flaws in it. But because you like raw books more and you feel that raw books should trump graded books, that's not 100% true. That's just the way it is. Yeah, you go ahead to buy like Fantastic Four 48 when Wouldn't it be better to get it in a slab so you don't have it, so that you don't have any restoration or trimming or color touch versus a random seller's word? Not only that, and I have said this on the channel many times over, let's say something does happen. If you kept your collection at the house and something does happen at that house where Fantastic Four 48 got messed up, what is your insurance adjuster going to do? Your insurance adjuster is going to look at that Fantastic Four 48 and be like, okay, since it's inside the house, you have the proper homeowner's insurance for recovery on that. What was the condition of that Fantastic Four 48? And you go through, you find the receipts of where you paid for it at a comic book store. And they're going to look at it as like, well, is this the current fair market value of this book? What condition was it in? Oh, it was near mint. No, we can't accept that. Well, that was what the comic book store sold it to me as. We can't accept that. We have to go based upon fair market value from an appraised standpoint. And this is where the argument about raw versus graded gets into that quagmire. When people look at insurance claims, insurance adjuster is going to be like, well, if you have a CGC certification or a CBCS certification, you give them that certification number. They could go out there and look at the certification on that. And it's like, oh, it was certified as this at one time. We could give you, maybe 65 to 70% of fair market value for that book for recovery. At least you would have something to move towards replacing it, as opposed to some type of calculation outside of it where the insurance controls 100% of it because there was no true evaluation of the condition of the book. It becomes a, he said, she said type deal. And like kind of like what Leia was saying, have it slab, have no restoration, no color touch, no nothing done to it versus a random seller's word. It just doesn't bode well. And I don't know, I don't know about you, but I don't go to cons with a ruler and a jeweler's, yeah, or ultraviolet. You don't know. You don't know. Not a lot. I have if somebody actually came with that type of equipment to a lot of these comic book dealers, especially the bigger ones, they would be. I bet you they would be quick, fast, and a hurry get you away from their booth if you actually did that. But that's just what it is. Yeah, we're all different in different stages of our collecting timeline. Exactly, David. It's discouraged me when someone posts something they like and they are a new collector, but others try to discredit them. Exactly. I have seen. I won't mention this comic book creator. I won't mention their channel or anything like that. But I saw a recent video from them where they went down at least 48 different comic book collectors or what they consider top comic book collector channels out there on YouTube. And they had their significant other kind of rate these other channels. This person is new in the industry themselves. And the greater majority of it was very negative. Very negative. I didn't even I couldn't even find the time to even respond back because it's like I felt like it was going to be a waste of time because a lot of these things that was brought up in that video are things that he's doing right now that you claiming that you don't like. I mean, talking about people's personal reasons for moving and just the weirdness with, oh, they're not like me, but yet you got people constantly commenting in your comments to the point where they're roasting you instead of having healthy conversation. They're trying to, it's like it's almost like your negativity is bringing more negativity in your comments. And that's not something that you want. You want positivity. You want to have a healthy discussion. Even if you disagree with the individual, you still want a healthy discussion where both of you grow in knowledge at the same time. But those channels are few and far between. They don't get the likes and subscribes that they need to. But let some type of controversy or some type of negativity get out and people just latch onto it. You will be surprised of the skyrocketing boom with subscribes and everything from that point forward. It's just I just don't get it, David. I just really don't. I honestly don't. Oh, what a piece of crap book. No one likes a fool killer, waste of money. They suck. Yeah, these guys suck. Again, it's too easy to do comic book reviews that way. Too easy. Too easy. And then it makes me wonder, did you read the actual book? Because if you read the actual book, you could come back and say, here's this is something that I would change in this book to make it better. Not don't say something that's a piece of crap and move on. Leave critical feedback. And when I say critical feedback, I mean point out where something went wrong and how you would fix it. That's constructive. It's critical and constructive. Saying something that's a piece of crap is destructive. It serves no purpose other than I just feel that way. I'll say, okay, you feel that way. That's your bias. That's your personal bias on it. However, there's enough people out there that's buying that book that says otherwise. You know, people going to like what they like. I'm not going to stop people from liking horror books, but I'll be the first one there to put a horror book in their hand if they want one. I mean, that's just the way that you have to be. It's just more along the lines. It's like help people enjoy what they like more so than anything else. And I like a neat fool killer. Yeah. Uh, did you have it graded or was it wrong? Yeah. What it's like. What's the insurer is going to go by? I tell you, the insurer will go by the graded one more so than the one that's in the raw. The one that's in the raw would fall up under just the general. It was in your house. Treat it no more like the average DVD or Blu-ray or novel that was in your house at the time of whatever accident happened. You're not going to get much out of it. But with something that has been certified, they will have to look at it a little bit carefully for actual value. Again, one of the reasons why I took all of my graded comics away from storage because why the insurance that I have on the storage unit itself would not cover a greater majority of the books that I already have graded. Let's see, because my coverless 40A is magically now at 8. Your coverless 48 missing pages is now a 9.8. I could prove it. I could prove it. Oh boy, that's just funny. Did you like the Miles High booth or the Harvey ebook? It's like they carry you away. Yeah. If you Miles High, okay. I'm going to tell you my experience here. Harvey Yee, oh yeah, they will as soon as they figure out what you're doing. That's the end of it. It will be like they will be on the lookout for you each every time. Be like, nope, keep going. We don't we don't patronize people like you. Miles High. My only experience with Miles High was only at San Diego Comic Con. My only interaction with anybody at Miles High with the guy. And when I say the guy, I'm talking about good old Chuck, the owner. And I was able to have like a 20-minute conversation with him about his post and his blog. And I thanked him for it because he gave us a lot of history in the blogs about from the time that he got started through all the troubles and stuff that's was caused by distribution and where they're at now. And I feel that if you did that with his shop, he will allow it to a certain degree until you start nitpicking. When you start nitpicking, that's when you're gone. But it's just something that you don't do, where you up here bringing the black lights and all this other stuff and really testing the waters about other shops ethical practices. That's what you really get into when you do stuff like that, and a lot of places are not going to like that. Oh, I like Comic Pop. Yeah, Comic Pop is awesome. Yeah. Yeah, most people listen to respond instead of listening to understand. We all want positivity and can have that even if we disagree. I may not like a book, but I give you credit for those who make it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of books that I don't like, but at the same time, you give credit for creativity purposes, and then you could have like your opinion could change at any given time. Perfect example was the evil one, Grant Morrison's run on X-Men. When it first came out, I hated the crap out of it. I came back, let's just say maybe 15 years ago, and started reading it. And I'm up here, it's like, you know what? Maybe my jerk reaction when I read it the first time around was too juvenile. He was doing a lot of things that were very, very good. The downfall that I knew from back then still stands, which was nobody else could come back after him to write it to keep it going. They just didn't have the wherewithal to keep that particular X-Men story and X-Men universe going in that aspect. I didn't have to hate what he did the way that I did when I was in my mid 20s. I didn't have to be that way. Now I could come back and I give him all due respect because he kind of, did Yeoman's masterpiece work for X-Men during that time. But like I said, people's taste and stuff do change. It is what it is. David, I laughed so hard with the Sword of Asriel review with uh we like 65% through, but they go and they shoot, they shoot the trolls. Yeah. Eat the oh no. So he's okay. Eat the such a great video. More at me on the Book of Faces. We could talk more about the Jerko collectors. LOL. Yeah. I spent hours talking. Yeah, she does. She literally does. She literally does here. And I don't know what's going on. Oh, okay. Oh, so that's what's going on. So there's a lot of behind the scenes conversation going on the Book of Faces. So I'm just going to close that part out. I don't like being distracted here. But that's the type of stuff that makes me cringe, knowing that a lot of that stuff is out there on YouTube with content creators, especially in the comic book realm of things, that we're being overly negative for no apparent reason. And then the ones that I try to highlight more so that's more positive. And if you do disagree with them, they will hear you out and you have to grow from the experience. You don't hear people speaking up for them more so than anything else. Now, Parallax and I, we know other comic book sellers, and how some comic book sellers don't like certain YouTube content creators. That's like I think about the pirate a lot, dealing with one of these content creators, and I actually got to know that content creator pretty good. I wouldn't say that they would be somebody that I could come around and ask them questions all that much here, but I could ask them certain questions. But I understand where the pirate gets his sentiment from, because he's kind of right. It's like some of the things that he puts out there is opinion and not 100% fact. And then there's other videos where he put out 100% fact. And if you don't know the difference between the two, you could get swayed easily. So that's funny. It's funny in that aspect here. So David would say, "Will do." Yep. I call them mile side price. Well, yeah, that's kind of like that's kind of like one of those things that we could talk about at a different time, because for what he has been through, especially dealing with distributors, the fact that the guy almost went bankrupt a couple of times because of distributors, I could understand why the average person would call them miles high prices. But back in the day, and when we say back in the day, when we're talking about the 80s and 90s, they were actually reasonable. You get around 2010s, and it's like, yeah, mile high prices. And oh, there he is. We got Mr. McHale in the house here. Guess what? You could participate here on things that you don't like with claim sales and comic some creators out here. And when I say creators, I talk about content creators, not comic book creators, but content creators, the people who are out here reviewing the books, or putting out claim sales on like YouTube, or showing off collections and talking about the hobby as a whole here. So I know that you have a standpoint of why you hate comics, but technically you don't hate comics. I think you don't like a lot of things that's in it. So this is right up your alley. This show is right up your alley here, Matthew. So open up, open it up here. I want to go as the ultimate collector cosplay, lab jacket, gloves, race dance type, like with the loop glasses and black light. That would be funny. You want to know what else would be funny? If you could do the cigarette trip with the cigarette sticking to your lip as you were investigating something. That would be funny. That would be funny. It would be cool. Joe is so sick with me. He's going to give me a Wonder Woman #1 to buy me from whatever contact that he have. If well, depends. It depends. You're up here asking about Wonder Woman #1. I think you already got the Perez one, but the handful of people that I know that has a Wonder Woman #1 from the 1940s, I just don't have the money to buy it. I just honestly don't have the money to buy it. Yeah, comic pirate rules. Yeah, yeah. Notice that we're not using people's actual names, so we kind of can't have like nicknames and stuff for them. But in private, I probably would say who they are and what was what. But yeah, the comic pirate right now. Oh, okay, cool. Cool. So he got his brand new cool car. So that's excellent. So there is where you go where you're not technically paralyzed. Yeah, I wish this small publisher guy and he's pretty cool, but even he is a dork and a meanie boo beanie. Meanie boo. Yeah, I don't like being on comic book shows with layers. uh, well, were you there yesterday? Were you there yesterday to see what happened? Because, like I said, what happened with last issue of Uncanny X-Men, that was just still priceless. That was still too priceless. You're supposed to bust out the cellar like that in the middle of his show. I'm sorry, that the quote speaks for itself. You just got through selling issue 200. What the what the fuck are you smoking? Sorry, I could actually do that. I could stick the cigarette to my lower lip. Yeah, that's how he did it. That's how he did it. It stuck to the lower lip, and he kept talking, and it would not fall down. So yeah, comic pilot rules. Meatloaf of the Northwest. Yeah, I mean he paid for the comic pirate's wife Dars charge. Oh, oh my goodness. So he paid for the comics wife's equivalent to Bumblebee, because that's what it is. Bumblebee in modern Transformers movie was a Dodge Charger. So Bumblebee, she's flying around in Bumblebee. I could talk and keep it stuck there, but I have done it many times, even with okay, cool, cool. But that's the whole thing. It's like the raised stance of comic book collecting, and then talk in the technical terms, like the authoritative technical terms, like Ray Stance would. Scared Ray. Yeah, Scared Ray. Yep, Scared Ray Stance. But then again, I have to watch the last two. I still have to watch the last two Ghostbusters movies, especially the last one, because the last one brought back some of the older cast members here, and they took it a different way to if I would have wrote the newer Ghostbusters legacy. I still would have kept Spangler's Spangler mentioned, even though his granddaughter is still a part of it, but it would still be like the things that Egon did not tell the rest of them, except for dang it, Peter. There's only things that Peter and Egon knows. That plus I would also find a way to bring back Sam Hain, the one entity that almost killed him in the cartoon series. Again, they was not supposed to survive that fight with Sam Hain. They weren't. They got lucky. That's disgusting. Cigarettes are gross. No, we are talking about a cosplay. if you remember in the Ghostbusters movie, there was a scene where Ray was talking about something else, and slowly but surely something happened that caused him to panic, and the cigarette stuck to the bottom of his lip, and he kept on talking, and the cigarette would not fall. That's what we was talking about. That what we was talking about her reproducing in her cosplay if she does the whole Ray Stantz thing. Yeah, I could learn about printing presses and using all the terms of cutting the paper. Yeah, at the proper 95 degree angle. Yeah. I don't smoke anymore. Eyeball. It's like I can still stick a cigarette on my lower lip like Ray did in Ghostbusters 1. Yeah, yeah. I still gotta watch the two new ones. I still gotta watch the two new ones. I just have to find them either on Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever streaming service it is. That would be awesome if they did a movie based on the real Ghostbusters. In a way, I want them to kind of bridge the gap between them because I still feel that they could salvage the so-called failed Ghostbusters movie. I believe that they could salvage that, but there was just too much stuff that went wrong with that movie, if I could say marketing wise. And because it went wrong marketing wise, people's expectation was way up here when the marketeers knew that the movie was like way down there. They shot to the moon for people's expectation and just couldn't deliver. Uh, when he first saw slime, yeah, exactly. And he was like, and he just stood there. The cigarette just hung and hung and hung. And it's like, it's coming towards me. It's coming towards you. It's like, Ray, what happened? I got slime. Yeah, I have to see Frozen Empire and Afterlife. And I do have to see Afterlife as well. Afterlife is what's really interests me more so than anything because Afterlife opened up that chapter about what really happened with Egon. Because technically Harold Ramis is dead, you have to figure out a way to bring Egon back to the table. The AKA the actual brains, the brains of the science behind it, not the brains of the operation. Peter was always the brains of the operation, but Egon was the true dedicated scientist to this stuff. And you kind of know that Egon found a lot more stuff than what was mentioned, and that's what makes me want to. If I was writing Ghostbusters now, it would have been like the untold files of Egon and the stuff that the Tobin Spirit Guide never that the stuff that the Tobin Spirit Guide never brought up in full detail that he discovered. Reason why I want to bring back Sam Hain because Sam Hain would have been like the minor threat of a lot of stuff that could be coming. But that's just me. That's just me. But again, I really don't do horror, but at the same time, I understand the conflicts that goes on with the Ghostbusters and everything like that. Yeah, I will send you pirate links. I'm not going to spend money. I'm not going to spend $20 on this stuff. It's like, look, I'm paying for these streaming services anyway, so at least let me get my money's worth out of these streaming services. They should have made the trailer. They should have made the trailer they made with the 30 years ago with the four scientists saving New York, but it was in another universe. That's what I originally thought when they said 30 years ago. 30 years ago, 30 years ago, we had this franchise and everything. And then it zooms into modern day. And in this in that version of Ghostbusters, there was no more. There was no more, Ray, Egon, Peter, and Winston. Ghostbuster dissolved, and then another threat comes up, and this new group has to step up and step in. But they even did. I hate to take my friend's side on this because he probably said it best. Instead of making it about the supernatural, they kind of made it more like Scooby Doo, and that's why I said it's like that. That version of Ghostbusters is salvageable, but we have to set it in a way that it is an alternate universe. It is an alternate universe there was a there was a Peter, Ray, Winston, and Egon. But in that universe, they either got dissolved or there was another crisis that happened where they're no longer around. But that's just me. Afterlife is the last movie I saw in theaters. It was also, it has also sound. Did you ever see the spliced together cutscenes of the Ghostbusters? Yes. Actually, I still own that game for the Xbox 360. I own Ghostbusters, the video game. And again, I believe, if I remember correctly, that Dan Aykroyd actually said that Ghostbusters, the video game, was technically the original thought for Ghostbusters 3. That they was going to introduce a new character that was supposed to be the weapons specialist, or as they called him, the crash test dummy. But he was going to be the one that understood all the new tech behind their gear. And they were about to get ready to face something that was bigger than anything else that they faced before. So they were going to go beyond like the Vigos and and Zool and all the other stuff, and they were going to go into more powerful so-called supernatural beings with that one. But those cutscenes were pretty epic. Those were pretty epic, and they actually got their original actors. And like I said, that probably is the last thing that we know that Harold Ramos did. That Harold Ramos did before he passed was that video game. Afterlife is kind of like the last of Egon. See, that's the thing. I don't think it's the last. I wouldn't make it the last. I would have made it. It's like that was just their first discovery of the files and the secret base. But that's just me. That's just me. It was the discovery of the first file that they know about, and the discovery of the secret base that they had in that area because of what was going on. Well, 2016 Ghostbusters did not kill that movie. It was just for the simple fact that I promised not to use those words, so I'm not going to use that. I would have to say those who controlled the studio, which was Columbia Pictures at the time, felt that that movie would not have been profitable. Then they're chomping at the bit with the wave of, oh, let's go with an all female team, because again, an all female team could make money as well, and they market it as such, as opposed to, no, this is Ghostbusters lore. Something happened to the original team. We need a new team to step up, and this has happened to be the new team. They put too much emphasis on gender, and if I dare say it, political correctness than the content of the movie, and then underdelivered with the content of the movie. Everything looked like it was a Scooby Doo fest. It was more. It was more like, you know. It was, to me, it came off more along the lines, you just wait for somebody that says like, we would have got away with it too if it wasn't for you four mailing females. I'm just saying. Was it a bad movie? Not so much. Could it have been a lot better? Yes. Was it Ghostbusters? Not really. It could have been a good Ghostbusters movie if you said it was a parallel universe, because the whole thing about the generator makes sense. But just the way, it's just the way that everything was executed, because that generator would have made sense in the other, in what was going on with the Ghostbusters video game. That generator would have been ultimately the greatest creation that Egon would have made, but it would have been flawed, and that would have been the thing that they would have to stop if they would have did the movie based upon the video game. But what do I know? Yep, that's exactly what Afterlife is. Yeah, they cross they cross with the women's Ghostbusters. They have a multi universe, and that was the thing. That was the thing that Dan Aykroyd was actually pitching for Ghostbusters. What Dan Aykroyd was pitching for Ghostbusters is that it would no longer just stay in New York. It would actually be franchised out. They would have been incorporated. So now there would have been Ghostbusters, actual buildings and franchises in different states and in different countries, and they had different teams, and you could run Ghostbusters that way. That was also a pitch for a Ghostbusters movie. Instead of always having, Ray, Peter, Egon, and Winston, it would eventually led into a bigger cast if you allowed them to incorporate. I have the PS3 and PS4 and the S Team versions. I love that game. I only have the 360 version of it. Matter of fact, now, dang it, eventually I'm going to get back to playing that game anyway. Not the Ghostbusters game, but Heavy Rain. I'm towards the tail end of Heavy Rain, where I finally got through like the if I could say, the last phone call to prove your loyalty to save your son. And it comes back down to a choice that you have to make. You can follow the last instruction to get to your son, but you only have like an hour to get to him before he dies, or at least they're telling you that he would die and everything to that magnitude. So I'm at that point in Heavy Rain, and I just never sat down and dealt finish that. And people always get mad at me. It's like, you got all these games and you just don't finish them for some reason. It's like, I had other stuff to do. I never sat back down and thought about it and thought about playing it. And people got upset with me with Metal Gear Solid 4. It's like, well, how far did you get Metal Gear Solid 4 before you stopped playing? I got to the microwave room. I never finished the quick whatchamacallit, shoot, the the quick response things with the microwave room, where you have to cross in order to get to the server room. And people looked at me so cross-eyed and strange. It's like, dude, do you realize you was at the very end of the game? You had like 5 more minutes to go in the game and it would have been completed. It's like, no. Again, when you're in the heat of a game, you're not thinking about what was the end. I don't look for spoilers. I don't really use FAQs to know that that was the end of the game. But it is what it is. They made Ghostbusters, the video game, into Ghostbusters 3, and yeah, that's what Aykroyd said. Aykroyd said that the video game would have been Ghostbusters 3, the closest thing to Ghostbusters 3 that they would have made into a movie. My favorite line for Egon is like, the reason is off the charts. I'm going to have to make new charts. uh, I should have said lost, yeah, not last, yeah. Yeah, that's why they should have held it, should have made it that Holtzman was Egon's niece and Melissa McCarthy was related to Ray, and they were best of friends, and they got Patty and Kristen Wiig to help just stop, the threats of, I mean, you didn't have to make them related either. It could have been like way I would have did it. It's like Hol- I would still have Holtzman related to Egon, but Holtzman would have been related to Egon as in Holtzman would have been the last student that Egon had in that universe. Like Holtzman would have been Egon's prize student, the best student that he ever had in this field. And then she happened to be best friends with Melissa McCarthy's character, who had blind faith in her adventures and all this other stuff, and understood what was going on. And then they happened to have Kristen Wiig and dang, I can't even think of her name now. And well, Patty's character to help them out. But Holtzman would have been perfect as Egon's last student that he taught. And then I would not have the eye candy from Thor. The guy who played Thor would not be eye candy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry on that. I am so sorry about that. That to me is just like, nope, not going to happen. To me, that was a wasted character because again, Janine was not eye candy. Janine serves the purpose of grounding Egon in later movies. Even though she came on a little bit thick, she grounded Egon. She brought Egon back to reality and back to humanity. And I don't see Chris Helmsworth's character in 2016 doing that. He was just too much of a goofball. Even Rick Moranis' character was a grounding character in Ghostbusters. He grounded the team. Even though in the second one he became their accountant, he grounded the team to keep them, on their toes as far as being human. They weren't just like, oh, we're going to be these heroes just to be these heroes. It's just like, no, they're it's like anybody can be a Ghostbuster. Let's keep this grounded. Let's keep this grounded. Louis Tully was something a little bit more than just I'm the accountant Ghostbuster. He had at least a little bit of the basic training for the equipment itself. But that's just me. That is just me here. And let me see what else we got here. Yep, because Peter says the franchise rights alone would make us richer than our wildest dreams. Exactly. Yeah, I have Heavy Rain. And there he is, the Green Lantern here. What's going on, Mr. Green? Hopefully everything is okay. Yeah, it's like could have been students of Ray and Egon. Yep. I mean, it makes sense. 2016 had its opportunities to parallel it into the original Ghostbusters, to the original Ghostbusters lore, but they wasted an opportunity. It could be salvaged. It can be salvaged. All that stuff can still be brought out. But again, it was a loss. It was a loss. It was a lost thing. Lewis was the everyman slub. Winston was the everyman worker. see that my complaint about the original first two Ghostbusters was the fact that they did not play up Winston the way that they should have, like they did in the cartoon. Winston was more than the everyday worker. He was just not there for a paycheck. He was there for a reason because he was more along the line the able body that was able to understand what was going on. He understood what was going on, and he made for a good partner for Ray. Everything that all the quote unquote nerdy stuff that Ray was into, Winston was also slightly into it as well and was a balancing factor for him. But they never really got into that in the movies like they did in the real Ghostbusters cartoon. And I kind of wish that the movies did that more. I wish the real Ghostbuster movie did that more with Winston here. They kind of say New York, yeah. But that, like I said, it was a grounding factor. Louis Tully was a grounding factor. It kept the Ghostbusters human. It gave the everyday people something to believe in. Having characters like Louis Tully. Yeah, I'm in Michigan. Okay, 2016 needed to be retreaded like Force Awakens did. Probably, probably. I mean, like I said, it's salvageable. 2016 is salvageable, But again, we don't know where it's going to go to because again, Aykroyd is getting older. He probably don't want to write too much more Ghostbusters screenplays. Harold Ramis's been gone for a couple of years, and we don't know the current status of Columbia Pictures and where they want to go with that franchise. I mean, it is what it is. No, it can't. It can't. It's like no, it can't. People are too turned off on it. Again, we don't have to get the same people to play those characters. We don't have to get the same people to play those characters at all. You could relaunch that version of Ghostbusters up under the new movies as an alternate universe, like whatever is going on with Frozen Empire and everything to that magnitude, whatever was the ripple effect here, caused something to happen over there, and they just retool what was going on and what should have happened over here in its proper aspect. And they could recast that whole cat. They could recast those people. You don't have to. You don't have to engage the original movie in the same light. I wouldn't come out and say like, oh yeah, we're going to bring 2016 back. It's like, no, I wouldn't do that. But it would be retooled. It would be completely retooled with new cast. And it would be like act like 2016 was a dry run or a test run. But this is the real lore behind the 2016 movie in the newer stuff here. Yep, he was great in the game. Exactly. Winston is an unsung Ghostbuster, and I just wish the movie showed him more often about what he actually brought to the table instead of just being the guy that was there. Yeah, if there was a steady paycheck involved, I believe in anything that he said. That's the actual line that he said. That's the actual line that he said in the movie. Yep. Yeah, it's like he actually understood what was going on and believed it. Yep. Yeah, they played. It's like they played Winston's character in the OG films. Yeah, and it's good to see Ernie Hudson come back in Frozen Empire. But at least they said that he was in Frozen Empire. So I really want to go. I really want to see Frozen Empire more so than anything else. Than anything else. Yeah, I like how they involved him in the game. Yeah, they did. They did. It's like there's just so much untapped potential in, as I call it, the real Ghostbusters series. And I keep prefacing the real Ghostbusters because if you understand the licensing behind Ghostbusters, you have to understand there's two: the original Filmation one and the Columbia Pictures one. The Columbia Pictures one is what we're talking about right now, but you have to keep it separated from the Filmation one because the Filmation one was weird. However, the TV series, the revamped TV cartoon series of Ghostbusters from Filmation, actually was not bad of a watch if you could get past what they did in the live action 1975 stupidity that they did as far as Ghostbusters. But that's a whole different thing. Yeah, he went to school and became a doctor. That is, that was real cool. Yeah, I mean, again, he, like I said, he wasn't just there just to be there, and that's where I kind of wish that the first two movies would have did more. It's like show more of Winston's purpose here, other than to play off of Ray, Egon, and Peter. I mean, like you said, he comes off like the everyday worker, like he was like the everyday. He was like the everyday. If I dare say union laborer, he was the union laborer, but he was more than that. He was way more than that here. And guys, it looks like we went like an hour 40 minutes here. I thought we were going to do an hour, but like I said, I enjoyed this, and I'm glad that we got into something more positive than the stuff that we originally talked about the things that really grinds my gears with other content creators and online claim sales. I mean, it is what it is, but it's good to come back and talk about good ideas to improve franchises and what we think would work and everything, and to enjoy Ghostbusters the way that we did, and especially the Ghostbusters the video game. And when we talk about Ghostbusters the video game, we're talking about the late 2000s video game that came out by Activision, not the one for the Sega Genesis, because the Sega Genesis one to me was the closest that we would probably get to the movies, even though the Nintendo game one was, if I could say, it was a different game that was repurposed into Ghostbusters. But it was what it was here. Yep, you know me, I never shut up. But I got to say my adieus here, and if I and like yeah, the 2008 Activision Ghostbuster game for the 360, PS3, PS2, and Wii. Yeah, because you had it for the PS3. I had it for the 360. And like I said, it's a fun game. It's a very fun game. It is the closest thing that we got to the original idea of Ghostbusters 3, at least from Dan Aykroyd's point of view. That was what the original pitch for Ghostbusters 3 was to bring in a new guy to make him the weapon specialist. So it's really a nice thing here. And and they know that they recreated on Roblox the multiplayer for Ghostbusters, the video game. Yep. hmm Exactly. So I'm going to at least allow Parallax to enjoy the rest of her Saturday. If I get off right now, she will probably have 15 minutes of her Saturday left before it hits midnight and be Sunday morning over there. But for the rest of you everywhere else, I want you to enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening here. I will be back here Saturday after a possible whatnot sale. I'm still thinking about holding off, but it's like, the well, actually, yeah, the whatnot sale next week. It would be the day after my birthday, so it's going to be a post birthday whatnot sale and everything here. So we'll see what happens from there, and we'll talk about some other things as we go along. So as I always say, live life, grow, and be well. And we're out of here for another week here, from the Deso Small Press Publisher. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we're out. Adios.